me is Lord Kerslake, the former head of the Civil Service. Welcome to you indeed. Now, housing. Everyone agrees it's a problem. We need more houses, we need more homes, we need more homes that young people can afford to live in. How will these measures announced today work?
Well, look, there's some good things in this budget that will help to deliver more housing, and it's moving in the right direction. But the key question is it enough to deliver the ambitions of the government? And in particular, have they taken advantage of all the opportunities? For example, for local authorities and housing regeneration companies like the one I chair, Be First, to do what they can do to build more homes. We've got an ambition to build 50,000 homes over the next 20 years, and I guess we were looking for more help from the government to do that.
What's holding you up? Why can't you do it?
We need more powers to borrow, and those have been limited really only to a relatively small sum, £1 billion, and we need more funding going towards affordable housing. Because that's what is desperately needed. Even if we build more houses in the near future, house prices are unlikely to fall.
I mean, the problem, of course, as we saw when Ed Conway was going through the figures, is that if local government borrows more, that goes on to the national borrowing totals and you don't hit the targets.
Well, indeed, but in many ways you could say the Chancellor has recognised he's going to have to move back anyway on some of this. And the crucial point here is that new housing ultimately will save him money. It will bring down rents and it will bring down the costs of benefits accordingly. So in the end it pays for itself.
I mean, the other problem is everyone says, wouldn't it be nice if we had more housing? But then they go on to say, well, not in my backyard.
We need more land. We need to identify all the land opportunities that are available, particularly here in London we do, but actually across the country.
What do you think will be the impact of the measures announced on stamp duty?
Well, all the evidence, I have to say, is that if you reduce stamp duty in the way he's doing and don't deal with the supply issue, it just feeds into prices. So those who are homeowners may well benefit. I'm not so sure about home buyers.
I mean, and you know this one quite well. I mean, it's been looked at by the Civil Service over the years.
Indeed, the Treasury have looked at it on many occasions and come to this view. So there we go.
So you wouldn't have done that?
I think if I had that resource available, I would have put it into more funding for supply and particularly new affordable housing for those on low incomes.
Now, what about the National Health Service? Because, again, in the Civil Service, you're used to dealing with the NHS. We've now got senior figures, civil servants really running the National Health Service, openly criticising what the government's doing. Is that acceptable?
I think it is acceptable. I think you've got to distinguish the role of Sir Simon Stevens as Chief Executive of NHSE, the NHS, from a civil servant advising ministers in the normal way. He's there to run the NHS, and he's there to make sure that the NHS has the funding to deliver what the government wants of it. So he's absolutely right to say, if you don't give us the funding that's needed here, and by the way, put more money into social care, we can't deliver what you're expecting us to deliver. That's his responsibility. That's his job as far as I'm concerned.
But you don't get people in other sectors. I mean, you don't get the Chief of Defence Staff saying that openly, for example.
No, they say it privately, as you know, to the newspapers. But they're in a different role. I think he has a very distinct role. He's charged with being accountable for the delivery of the National Health Service. And so I think he has every right to be open and honest about the challenges the NHS faces. I chair a hospital trust, and the scale of the financial challenges is huge. New money is welcome, but we're still not there yet.
I mean, what we're hearing from Sir Malcolm Grant, who's the chairman of NHS England, he's saying actually the NHS really needs to re-evaluate what it can afford to pay for, and things like in vitro fertilisation, for example, they might have to become privatised.
Well, yes, I saw Sir Malcolm yesterday, in fact, and he said the same thing to me. But the point here is this: do we really want in this country to be overseeing a declining NHS, not matching the best in Europe? I don't think we do, and if we want to stay up with the best, we have to put the money in that it needs.
So that means more taxation?
More taxation. And my view for a long time has been we need to have an honest and open debate with the public. What's important to them? For me, the health of my family and myself going forward is the most important thing, and actually I'd be prepared to pay for it, and I think a lot of other people would too.
Bob Kerslake,
thank you very much
indeed for joining me. Well, coming up, we'll be speaking to Kay Burley. She's live in Leeds, asking the young and the not so young what they think of today's budget.